Well, cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Today on A Beer with Starlo, I'm catching up with an old mate of mine and legendary Australian lure maker, Paul Kneller. Paul's living on the beautiful north coast of New South Wales, and I'm at his house. That's where I've come to catch up with him, mate. We go back quite a while. I can't remember where we first met. Was it at Lake Windermere, do you think?
I think it was before that, in the fly fishing days, but I think we sort of, we hit it off back then when we met up when I first started doing deception back in '92.
Yeah.
Would have been then, so.
Quite a bit of water under the bridge since then. But, you know, you're famous for your lure making, your timber lure making. Can you remember the very first lure you ever made?
Yeah, I can. Unfortunately, it was a copy of a floppy, as every probably kid did, and it ended up looking more like a cutlet bone than a floppy. It was green and white, and it hung in Dad's shed for years. I was about 14. It didn't swim. I had no idea why it never swum. And after that, I think I sort of fiddled around a little bit, made a few like cotton cordels or something like that. Anyway, I left school and I got a job in a joinery. I was keen bass fisherman, you know, growing up in the southwest of Sydney and fishing the Nepean, push biking out like we all did sort of thing, and got offered a job in a joinery, and I guess that's where the two sort of melded together, my love of timber and my love of fishing. And it grew from there. There was some guys that were really keen fishermen who I worked with way beyond me, who sort of took me under my wing, and we got right into run the full gamut, you know, as everyone does through land-based game and all the stuff.
Yep.
Fly fishing and stuff.
And as far as selling lures, like when did that start?
The first lures we sold was with deception. It would have been the shrimp, and it was one of those things, you know, two young kids, and I'd come home from work and I'd be down the shed, and Cheryl would be, oh, you're wasting money on that. And then I still remember a young guy in the fishing club we were in knocked on the door and wanted to buy something, and I still remember this. Yeah, he's going to Windermere and I want to buy something. Going, you want to buy some of my lures? I want to pay you for my lures, and he paid me $100, and from that day on it was like, shouldn't you be down in the shed making more of those lures sort of thing? So and it quickly escalated. It was it was a bit of a perfect storm, I guess, where Windermere became the place to fish. The shrimp worked, and it worked brilliantly there, really, the deception shrimp, but so did plenty of other lures. But it just become folklore to the point where people would almost, you know, lambaste you if you were using something different than the whole shrimp sort of.
Most of us used to fish off the bank in those days. We used the boat to go from spot to spot and then fish off the bank, and I always found that the shrimp was it was like it had been designed for the slope of those banks and the height of the weed beds. It just used to come up over those weed beds.
I designed it, and look, I'd like to tell you that it was I knew exactly what I was doing, but it fell into place. It swum up. Yeah. And that was the secret with the lure.
And most other divers dive deeper as you got them in.
If you pulled the rod tip, they'd want to go into that weed.
Exactly.
You could give them a flick and get them to do this swim up, and that's on that change of direction was when the yellows used to nail them, and that was the secret to them. There's no doubt about it. I'd have to say, on a commercial thing, the Palomon was the one.
Yeah, right.
Because all of a sudden we were selling lures into coastal communities right around where the population was, so we were doing.
I'm proud to say that Bushy and I had a bit of an input into that one.
A little bit more of an input than that. Yeah, I remember sending you the first samples, not having done much brim spinning, and Bushy going, "What was that? What were you trying to attempt? That won't catch a brim." But we refined it, and it
and did they catch some brim?
Yeah,
I had tackle boxes full of them, and I caught plenty of brim on them in comps and social fishing. So I mean, the tradition of Australian crafted timber lures goes back a long way. Who was it that you looked up to in those days as great lure makers in this country? At what point did you make the fairly brave decision to jump in and do it full time?
I was pretty lucky in that the firm I worked for actually allowed me to job share.
Right.
So as like I was going to, I was thinking if this thing took off, give myself a couple of years and we may go full time. And there wasn't many. There's still not a lot of guys that are full time lure makers. No. And I thought, well, if it works anyway. The spring come up, we were flat out. And I was able to job share. They took on another guy 2 days a week. I did 3. Then it changed to he did 3, I did 2, and I was going to work up till Christmas. November come along, and I said, look, I've got to pull the pin. This is just crazy. So
because you had so many orders.
Yeah, we were just flat out. Back in the day, we would pretty much close the books by the end of November, and we could work through to May. without getting another order, sort of.
You'd have to say, in a way, I guess, that it was the peak of the hard-bodied lure thing in Australia, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, it was.
And at what stage did you realise that some of your lures were becoming collectible? Because this whole lure collecting thing is a relatively new phenomenon in Australia.
Yeah, it hit me as a shock. It was actually Brad Sissons who rang me up and asked me what I knew about, and I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And yeah, people buying and selling, and it sort of snowballed very quickly from there, where I would get contacted and, you know, broker deals and all sorts of stuff, and it was quite amazing. I still am stunned, and I'm still you know, blown away that someone would want to collect something that I made, and as you know, literally pay into the thousands of dollars for single lures.
Yeah. And then a tackle shop.
A tackle shop, yeah. We got offered, we were, you know, after all that time, soft plastic, some bloke done these squidgy things, killed us.
Yeah.
I'll tell you there was a day, and I don't know if you remember this day, but we went out the wall and I had a bunch of Palamon and nippers and so forth, and you had these soft plastics, and I think I was calling them dubes and jelly babies and all sorts of stuff. What are you going to do with those?
Gummy bears.
Well, you absolutely towed me up. And we come back here, we had a bit of a barbecue, and Cheryl said, "You're a bit down, you're all right." And I said, "The future of fishing today, and I don't think we're actually a part of it." And she said, "What are you talking about?" Anyway, I explained, and we sold Deception at the peak, right at the perfect time.
Yeah. And so, during your layoff from lure making, you carved quite a niche for yourself, making guitars.
Yeah, it was a real labour of love. I've worked wood all my life, and I love fine, detailed stuff. And it was, and I play a bit of guitar. I'm a mug, but I do enjoy it. One of my guitars was at Glastonbury. I was absolutely chuffed to see that happen. So yeah, and it was a great time, and I'll revisit it, but down the track. But it's you know, it doesn't pay the way.
No,
Musos
there'd be hours and hours of time.
Weeks and weeks. So in some guitars, and Musos are about as thrifty as a blackfish fisherman. So not a good way to make a crust.
Yeah, fair enough. And then back into the lures.
Yes, yeah, it was sort of fell back into it. It's a long and involved story. I haven't barely made the same lure twice in the last 3 or 4 years.
That must keep it much more interesting.
It is. I love the development side. I'll go and make a batch of a couple of hundred. Sometimes we do, you know, they're popular and they want them redone. We have a handful of shops around the country. We have our own online store that we do, and word of mouth and all that. And I love it more than I did back then, because I'm free. I just call it freestyling. I don't even usually I don't know what I'm doing next until I get there. So and it's accepted. People I love it because people embrace it. You know, they and everyone loves a what's new. You know, it makes the world go around.
Absolutely. What would be your advice to some young angler out there who's carved a few lures or whatever and sees that they might have a future in lure making? Is it a path that you would suggest going down?
I tell you, it's fantastic catching a fish on your own lure, but watching someone else catch a fish on one that you made is far better. Or the phone calls, you know, late on a Sunday night, mate. You know, I'll tell you a funny little story. I may have shared this one years and years ago. Windermere, I didn't go this, and you know, we were there nearly every weekend. One weekend, this young guy rings me up. We're back in Sydney, and the kids are only little. And this guy, and he's pumping me tyres up, mate. Best lure ever. I caught me first ever yellow belly. Then we caught this, and Dad got a cod and all. And I'm on the phone. Oh yeah, I know. Just a humble lure maker, mate. I'm maybe a guide, but I'm not the guide. You know, I'm just a guide. So he's just and Cheryl's rolling her eyes in the background. Get off the phone. Anyway, I've hung the phone up, and as I've put the phone down, a voice comes from down the hallway. Dad, come and wipe me bum. Nothing brings you back down to earth. Cheryl said, yeah, well, around here you just wipe asses.
Yep.
Yeah, it brings you right back down.
Having kids will do that, won't it? And all right, this is a hard question.
Right.
What makes a great lure. You know, you can get two lures that look quite similar, and one will become a classic and the other one will fade into obscurity. Obviously things in the pipeline. Do you go to sleep at night thinking about lure designs?
Unfortunately, yes. Sure, I'll attest to that. And sometimes I just got to get away because the brain is just in overload, you know, and there's nothing better than grabbing a bait cast and heading down the local creek and just playing with the stuff you've made, but you know, just taking your mind away from it, because there is a lot to it. There's a whole lot of stuff going on.
So it sounds like there might be some more exciting Kneller lures down the track yet.
Plenty to come yet. I'm enjoying this facet more than ever. So, God willing, and the creeks don't rise, I'll be doing this for a long time yet.
I'll drink to that, mate. Cheers.
What a nice drop this is.
It is pretty good, isn't it? An old crankshaft.